Good morning. Good morning to each of you. I am Dr. Corrine Johnson, and I would like to welcome each of you on this morning to Grace for Today 5 Minute Devotional. And on this morning, our subject is going to be You Can Overcome Bitterness. And our key scripture is going to be coming from Ephesians 4 and verse 31. And it says, Stop being bitter and angry and mad at others. And so there was a man who had been snake bitten. He was bitten by a rattlesnake. And so his family rushed him to the hospital. And when the man asked the doctor, is this bite, is it going to be life threatening? And the doctor replied to him and said, the bite isn't, but the poison is. And so a lot of times in life, the bites that we suffer at the hands of other people, sometimes it can be very painful and sometimes upsetting, but they're not lethal. And so what happens to us normally doesn't destroy us, but what happens in us afterwards can. And so we know that like venom, bitterness, it first poisons your mind, and then bitterness poisons your relationships. It causes you to replay the hurt, and the wounds over and over and over in your mind until it controls you. And when it begins to control you, it steals the future that God has planned for you. But it doesn't have to be that way because we can overcome bitterness. And so in the scripture this morning, God says, stop being bitter and angry and mad with other people. And so what God commands, he will give us the grace to do. When Peter asked Jesus, should I forgive my brother 7 times? Jesus said, no, you must forgive him 70 times 7. And so, in other words, forgive and keep on forgiving until it no longer bothers you. Keep on forgiving until you see that person in Walmart and you can actually speak to them and say, have a blessed day, and actually mean it. And so, what causes bitterness? Well, anger that's allowed to resident in your thought life is what causes bitterness. God's purpose for anger is to motivate you to tap into his power for solving problems. Otherwise, they become permanent. Solving the problem resolves and relieves your anger, but anger can become long-term bitterness when you fixate on who did it to me. Why did they do it? I didn't do anything to them. Why did they do this to me? And so when you start thinking those thoughts, it makes you hostile and it causes you to be critical, blaming, and it causes bitterness to begin to set in. And so you say, can I really stop this anger that I'm feeling towards this individual person? And the answer is yes. Because with God's help, you can control your reactions, you can control your behaviors, and you can starve the spirit of anger to death. And so the fruit of spirit, the fruit of the spirit, self-control, the Bible tells us that we got to make sure that along with having that self-control, we got to make sure that we have the right responses when people do things to us to make us, feel angry or to make us mad, right? So I want to tell you this morning, stop being bitter and angry and mad at other people for the things that they've done to you, because it's not hurting them, it's stealing your joy, it's stealing your peace, it's affecting your future. And so overcome the bitterness so that you can move on and do as Jesus told Peter. Don't just forgive one time. You got to keep on forgiving until it no longer bothers you. And so on this morning, thank you all so much for tuning in and joining with me for Grace for Today 5 minute devotions. And it is my prayer that as you go forth on today, that you will go forth and have a blessed day.